I'm Sarah, and these are the books I read in February. I started this year off on like a tear of book reading. I read 10 books in January, 10 books in February, and we're over a week into March and I'm at like 1. So I was going really, really hard. Now I've kind of, petered off a little bit. So don't worry. All of these videos upcoming probably will not be this long. But I started off with one of my more random book selections. I read A Force of Nature by Jane Harper. I read the first book in this series last year. It's called The Dry. I don't know if I understand this series as a series. This book is about a man who works for the federal government in Australia, and he goes back to his hometown and solves this old mystery and like a new mystery, and it all ties together, and it's like deeply personal. In this book, it's the same federal agent, but he's just solving this random mystery that is in no way connected to himself or his past or anything like that. And it's just kind of an interesting choice as a series because he's a federal agent, but like the finance department, which is all well and good in the first book where he's just kind of going back to his hometown and not actually like solving a mystery as part of his job. But this book is about these women that go on this like company retreat out in the wilderness, and one of them disappears. And you kind of gotta manipulate the situation a bit to get a financial guy involved in that. So like this book could have been from the perspective of any generic federal agent, detective, whatever. It still would have been kind of the same story. But I actually did kind of like this one a little better. The whole small town vibe, it was good. I liked it, the first one. But I liked this one better. Like these 4 women, they're all kind of shady. They've all got potential motives. It's just a little more compelling for me. But it was fine. That's my main opinion on both of these. They're fine. And then I read an arc from NetGalley of the book Upgrade by Blake Crouch. It was good, but I've read 4 other books, I believe, by Blake Crouch. 1 I absolutely hated, 1 was decent, and then 2 were really good. And the 2 that were really good were his most recent books. To kind of sum up what each of them are about, just in the most general terms: Dark Matter, Alternate Realities, Recursion, Time Travel, Upgrade, Superheroes. They all have these like really high speed kind of chase, fast pace type stuff going on, in addition to the sci-fi aspect. And the 2, he blends them really well together. But what really made those other 2 books so special is they both had these kind of like wild twists that just took the books in these absolutely ridiculous directions that you never would have seen him going, and just like you're reading it and you just come out of your seat like, oh my God, he went there. They're super memorable and super exciting. This one is good. And I feel like he's even like actually improved his writing style a little bit. I feel like the earlier books by him were a little more stilted in the prose, and I think his prose is actually improved, but it didn't have that like twist or that moment. Like it just kind of goes A to B as you expect it to. I was kind of expecting that twist and it just never came. But yeah, it's good. It's about this guy in this like futuristic sci-fi time where all gene modifications have been banned. And he works as part of this task force that goes out and looks for people that are doing these gene modifications. And in the process of that, he gets poisoned, such, and realizes that his genes have been modified and he's now basically like a superhero. If you've read the other Blake Crouches and you enjoyed them, I think you probably enjoyed this too. But if you've never read Blake Crouch and you're thinking you might want kind of a fast-paced sci-fi, I would definitely do Dark Matter or Recursion before Upgrade. And then I read 2 of the books in the Wayward Children series. So last year I read Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. It is the first in a series of Wayward Children, technically novellas, about children that have traveled to other worlds, are now back in this world, and most of them desperately trying to get back to those other worlds. I read this one last year, 5 stars, one of my favorite books of the year. Last month, I read 2 more of them. Down Among the Sticks and Bones is a prequel So it's about the origin story of two of the characters from this book. Whereas Beneath the Sugar Sky is actually like a direct sequel and a continuation of some of the stories in this one. Down Among the Sticks and Bones, it's fine. Just in general, I don't like prequels that much. I don't like going into a story where you kind of know exactly where everything's going to end. It just doesn't do it for me as much. Especially when I'm reading like a series, it's because I want to know what happens to these people. Like in the future, not what already happened to them that I know, but now we learn it in more detail. The prequels don't do it for me as much, but the writing was good. It's a good story. I gave this 4 stars. This one I gave 5 stars. Absolutely loved. I really enjoy this series. I cannot describe how weird these are. Like, it's one of those ones where I like to recommend them to people. It's like, I mean, I liked them, but they're really weird. I don't know who would like these, but they're a quick little easy read. They're very short. The writing's just very interesting and unique, and they're incredibly weird, but incredibly unique and special. I think the pattern goes, because I think there's 6 of these. There's like the main plot line and then like a prequel. And then she does like the main plot line and then she does another prequel. That seems to be the pattern I've picked up reading the descriptions. So the next one I'm due to read is another one of the prequel ones, which I have it ready to go. I just haven't read it because, like I said, the prequels don't quite appeal to me as much as the like main story. I have heard somewhere, I think, that theoretically you should be able to read these in any order. Like, that's the intent they were written with. Like, they're not numbered. But I have also been told that you should probably just read them in the publication order and you'll be best off that way. So that's what I'm doing. I'm probably going to read at least the next one I have soon. Probably going to finish the series out pretty quick because I do like them. Problem being, I want to have them all. So I have to like buy them as part of my book budget, and they're newer books. They're kind of pricey, so that's what's kind of the holdup is there. I also read another arc from NetGalley called One Night on the Island. This is by the author of a book that I read last year called, I think it's called The Two Lives of Lydia Bird. I loved Lydia Bird. It's a romance, but also it's not. It's about this woman who her fiance has died tragically, and she's figured out that if she takes these certain sleeping pills, she can dream about him or slip into an alternate reality where he's still alive. It's never explained. It's just what happens. And so she's dealing with his death while also dealing with the fact that she can kind of go see him whenever she wants. It's such a weird setup. It's such a unique story. And that's kind of the kind of romance I like. Like, I'm not a big romance reader, but something like that with like a little bit of magic put in, or just unexpected, not the classic setup, is much more my style of romance. And I loved that book and I gave it 5 stars. This one very much is just a classic situational romance. And I know she tried to put like more heart into it. It just didn't work for me at all. This is about a woman. She's about to turn 30. She works at a online magazine writing stories about her dating life. And her boss comes up with this idea that she should go seclude herself on an island for like 6 weeks and just spend time alone and do like a commitment ceremony to herself to celebrate her 30th birthday and write about it for the magazine. Dumb enough setup as it is, like as I'm reading this, like whose boss is gonna pay for them to go sit on an island for 6 weeks? That's a vacation. That's not a work assignment. Like, yes, I understand she's writing, but like how much could she be writing about her dating life while living on this island and not dating? So it's a dumb idea to begin with. But then when she gets there, she realizes that this cabin has also been rented out to this man. There's literally nowhere else on this entire island that either of them could stay. So they are forced to then share this cabin together. Perfect strangers. I don't know. Maybe some people think that's a cute setup. It's like a studio cabin. Like, there's not even a bedroom. Like, she's staying with a strange man she's never met before. She doesn't even, like, it's not even like it's a friend of a friend or anything. She has never met this man in her life. They're in this cabin with no phone and no close by neighbors, and they're just supposed to stay there together. And like, it's a decent setup, I guess, for like a murder mystery, or like a thriller, but not for a romance at all. Like, I just could not, like, the horror of being in that situation for me personally. If my absolute terror and assumption that this man was going to kill me at any moment didn't ruin any spark or chance for romance, then my IBS certainly would. But it just gets so much more complicated than that too, because she spends so much time, the author does, talking about this man and his personal stuff. I mean, it's kind of, he's separated from his wife. They're taking time apart. It's just dumb. Like, I was rooting for the wife. He seemed like he really wanted to get back with his wife. His logic for going across the ocean to live on this remote island away from his wife and children. He has 2 children. To give his wife space. Maybe if it was just a wife, but like there's children. He's just leaving his children for weeks for space because he thinks that's the best thing to do for his family. I'm a little concerned on that, but yeah, I was rooting for him to get back with his wife. Like, these two make no sense as a couple because she has no interest in leaving England and he lives in Boston with his family. He has children there. This book, I did not like this book. I struggled to finish this. I struggled to get through it. I gave it 2 stars because it's not like the worst thing I've ever read, but it's not good. And then I read my second Harlan Coben book. It's called The Boy from the Woods. This one was good. I read Runaway, I think is the title of Harlan Coben book I read last year. Loved that one. That one was really good, really tightly plotted, really fun. This one was good, and the plot's good. I think there's just some faulty advertising here. Like, this book is sold as The Boy from the Woods is this guy Wild. 30 years ago, when he was a small child, he was found in the woods by himself. No one knows where he came from. He has no idea who his family is, anything about himself. Now, as an adult, he gets involved in the disappearance of this teenage girl. I didn't realize that this was intended to be a series focusing on this character Wild, because it doesn't say that anywhere. It really doesn't. I thought this was going to be about, you know, where did Wild come from and is it connected to this girl that recently went missing, and the story just goes in a completely different direction. It's not bad. I actually enjoyed it. Just false advertising. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was really expecting this like cold case story of Wild. The mystery of this book is actually like, it's very politics heavy, but it is good. I think Harlan Coben's a good mystery writer. Both of the books I've read so far, they're entertaining, they're well plotted. This one just, if you're gonna write like a mystery thriller that focuses as much on like politics as this one does, like you should advertise it as such, because that's a certain thing to be reading or to want to read. This book just did not sell itself as what it actually was. And then I read Damnation Spring, and mixed feelings on this one. It's a story about loggers basically in California in the 1970s, right at the time when like the environmental consequences of the logging, both in terms of losing these trees and the planet, and then also the like pesticides and weed killers that they were using, and like the birth defects and cancers and such connected to those. It's a decent story. My main issue with it would be it was too long. It just dragged. It kept going over like the same stuff over and over again. And the writing's really interesting. Like the writing style, it's interesting to read. I enjoyed it. But we would just be like saying the same stuff over and over again. Like, I get it. It's also kind of hard to relate with either of the main characters. Rich, the man, he's a logger. His whole family have been loggers. His whole goal is that he wants to cut down this giant tree that his father and his grandfather always looked at and wanted to cut down, and that's his big goal in life. And like, it's obviously tied to wanting to be a success and like wanting to provide for his family and everything. And he's likable. I like Rich, but you know, it's hard to root for him to cut down this like hundreds of year old tree, you know, like. And then his wife, I want to say Colleen, her whole personality is that she wants more children and she can't have more children, and she's had a lot of miscarriages. Like, that's hard for me to relate to. It is. I understand that she wants more children, but like, she has a child. It's not like she's like, I'll never be a mother. Like, she's not missing all of that. She has a healthy, beautiful, wonderful son, and yet she's just obsessed with the fact that she can't have more children. I'm sympathetic, but she does some stuff. But yeah, anyway, the main issue with the book is that it's too long. It drags too much. And then at the very end, when we've kind of got like everything all resolved, you know, it's literary fiction, so it can't have a happy ending. So we just do this out of nowhere 160 sad ending just for reasons. So I didn't really care for this one. I think the author has a good writing style. I think she needs to tighten things up a bit. And then the ending, like, you don't need to do a cheap attempt for tearjerker just so your book doesn't have a happy ending and it can be considered real literature. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I would have liked it better if it was just like everything resolved kind of happily, you know? Also, there was a dog death, and I have had the worst luck with books and dog deaths lately. Like, I feel like I can't, every time I pick up a book, I'm like, son of a bitch, there's a dog. I know it's coming. It's been a bad streak for me lately. These Silent Woods. This book was fine. I think this book and I somehow, there was like a miscommunication between me and the cover where I thought this was going to be much more of like a mystery thriller than it actually was. It's about a man and his daughter that are kind of living in the woods, hidden from everybody else because of something that he has done. And they have a friend of his that brings them supplies, and one day the friend doesn't show up. And I thought this was going to be like a mystery. It's not. It's pretty straightforward. It's much more about the relationship between the man and his daughter and nature. I don't know. It's fine. It was a short read. It was good. It was enjoyable. Just not that much to say about it, honestly. Like, it's good. It was cute, but also sad. But I mean, look at the cover. Like, doesn't that look like a mysterious mystery thriller? Maybe even like horror or something? It's not. It's not. How to Kill Your Best Friend. Straight mystery thriller at a resort. I like this one. This was a very good vacation book. I should have saved this one and read it on my cruise because reading it made me want to be on vacation. It's about this friend group. They were all like swimmers. That's how they kind of all know each other, like swimming in college and everything. One of the girls, cannot remember her name, but she and her husband own this like resort, and she recently goes swimming in this really dangerous area that she never should have been swimming in, and disappears and is assumed to have drowned. So they're having like this funeral at the resort for her, and you know, stuff starts happening, like clues start popping up that maybe it wasn't an accident, maybe something happened. My potential qualm or problem with it was that it kind of like leaned hard into this kind of like sea monster narrative or whatever, and I was like, I know the twist here is not going to be that it was a sea monster. Like, that's just I could tell from the cover and the overall tone of this book that it's not a sea monster. So why are we spending so much time trying to convince me that there is in fact a sea monster? Sometimes you just want to read about like rich people at a fancy resort, friend group dynamics, and or all of a sudden you're suspecting everybody that you've been friends with for 20 years and trying to figure out if they killed you, if they're trying to kill you or whatnot. It's fun. The Club was an arc I read through NetGalley. Similar vacation vibes all the way for this one. This one's also on an island, and it's this like super exclusive celebrity resort type thing. This one reminded me very much of The Guest List, where you got all these perspectives and you know something happened and someone's dead, but you don't know who yet, and you're going through all these perspectives trying to figure out who died and how and who was responsible, and then it all just kind of comes together. And it was good and it was satisfying, and it's like at this really luxe resort, so you're reading about all these like over the top fancy rich people details. I love that stuff. So it was good. If you liked The Guest List, I feel like you would like this one. And that's it. Those are the 10 books I read for the month of February. Let me know if you've read them. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you next time.